This is your one and only 𝐵𝑒𝑟𝑒_81 with your daily dose of video goodness, and welcome back to another informational Valheim video. Today, we're going to talk about the most farmable foods. Let's get to it. So, there's about 14,000 of you out there. That is just still crazy for me to comprehend. There is about 14,000 of you out there who are going to see the intro of this video and go, wait a minute, this looks awfully familiar. Didn't I already see this? Didn't you upload? Yeah, this is a redo video because the first video I uploaded about this was absolute trash and you deserve better. So please watch this one because the other one missed some things that this one is going to cover. Anyway, so today we're talking about the most farmable foods. Now, I want to make something very clear here from the get-go because I saw a lot of comments in the previous one for the short time that it was up where people were talking about other foods and how they are better. That is not what this is about. This is not about what the best foods are. That's a totally different video I'm going to cover later. This is simply about the most easily renewable farmable foods. And what I mean by that is foods that you can do start to finish in your base that you do not have to go out and forage for anything. Because if we take a look here at some of the recipes in here, pretty much all of the recipes have something you have to go forage for. So cloudberries, lox meat. Now, there was a bunch of people who were like, you can farm lox. You can't. You can tame lox, but lox currently at the time of making this video do not breed. If you're watching this afar in the future, check the Valheim playlist to see if there's been an update on that, because there probably has, because at some point they are going to. But currently, as the game stands right now at the publication date of this video, they do not breed, so they are not farmable. Yes, you can go out and murder them, but technically that is foraging. If we take a look at fish wraps is another one. Now, some people say that fish wraps are a farmable food source. They kind of are, but kind of aren't. It's relatively easy to find the fish schools, and technically you could have a base by the water, so you never really have to leave your base in order to hunt for the fish, but at the same time, you have to buy the bait. Now, the bait is only 10 gold per 50, but you still have to go out and forage for the gold, so technically, fish, you're still foraging for them. Sausages. You can set up a farm for entrails relatively easy if you find a draugr spawner. You can also farm meat, but you have to forage for thistle. And you get the idea there. Pretty much all of the recipes in the game have at least one thing that you have to go out and forage for, like carrot soup. Can farm carrots, can't farm mushrooms. But there are a few things in the game that you can easily farm from start to finish in your base, and we're going to take a look at those now. So first off, we have honey. Honey is an absolutely amazing source of food in this game because, first off, it's short. It only gives you 300 seconds duration. It only gives you 20 health and 20 stamina, but it gives you 5 HP per tick, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to replant. You don't have to keep up on anything. You literally find the beehive, get the resources that you need to, or find the beehive in the world, destroy it, get the bee so you have the resources that you need in order to place said beehive over here under crafting. There you go. You need a queen bee, 10 wood, and that is it. Then you place the beehive and it will just generate honey for you. I have a bunch over here. If you take a look, beehives can hold up to a max of 4 honey, and there's no limit on how many of these that you can have. If you run out of them in your world and you literally can't find any more bees anywhere at all in your world, you can take your character to a brand new world and go get more bees. You can just have all of them that you want. You can cram a bunch of them into a tiny area. You can put them on posts like this, and we could just, bam, look, there we go. Oh, look, we just got 4 honey. This is an absolutely fantastic snack for around the base. Your default health is 25, but if you eat 1 honey, that's going to put you up to 45. We're going to regen here relatively quickly and hit that 45 mark. It also gives you a nice little bit of stamina, and it's absolutely perfect for just derping around the base. I mean, it's my go-to food, and it's the only food I'll eat if I'm not out doing anything. If I'm farming or just doing whatever work around the base, I will constantly eat honey and use that as my food source. You can see it there, it put us at 44, but that's because it's ticking down. So if you don't eat any other food on top of it, if all you are eating is honey, you won't hit that 45 mark, you will only hit 44. But you know, it's great. It's great for around the base, and it's a super easy renewable food that you don't really have to work for. Next up, we have carrots. Carrots give you 15 health, 15 stamina. They last 600 seconds and they are at 1 HP regen per tick, and that's terrible. Carrots, eating carrots alone are a terrible source of food. I mean, if they're all you have, then yeah, it's fine to eat one, but they're not the best source of food. Next up, we have cooked meat, and you can farm cooked meat relatively efficiently, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Cooked meat is great. Cooked meat gives you 40 health, 30 stamina, lasts for 1,200 seconds, and gives you 2 HP per tick. Then we have turnip stew. Every part of turnip stew from start to finish can be farmed in your base. This is one of the best foods in the game because of that. And I know I said this wasn't like a best foods in the game video, but this right here is one of the best foods in the game because the fact that you can farm it all in your base, you don't have to forage for anything, and it has really good stats. Is it one of the strongest foods? No, there's other foods out there that have a lot higher stats, but you have to forage for parts of them. So turnip stew has 50 health, 50 stamina, lasts 1,600 seconds, gives you 2 HP per tick. It's going to cost you 1 raw meat and 3 turnips. As you see here, turnips cannot be eaten by themselves like carrots can. You can eat carrots by themselves. You cannot eat turnips by themselves. I can right click on it all I want and nothing happens. Next up, we have bread. Bread has really good stats for stamina. So it has 40 health, 70 stamina, lasts 1,800 seconds. It also lasts a really long time, which is nice, and gives you 2 HP per tick. The downside to bread is that it takes barley. Barley can only be found in the plains as far as I know. That's the only place that I've seen it. And then it can only be farmed in the plains as well. Now, this isn't the worst because you can legit just set a portal up to a small garden over there, portal over to your gardening, and then portal back to your base. So it's like you never really left your base in the first place. Now, I've heard people mention and ask about stasis, and when you leave an area, if it goes in, your plants go into stasis. You do not have to be over in your farm area in the plains biome. Plants aren't affected by stasis. As soon as you go over there, their timer will have continued to tick down, and when you go over there, they will update and they will have grown. I tested this thoroughly. Plants are not affected by stasis at all. Bread has a lot of downsides. First off, when you harvest barley, you only get 2 per harvest. So you plant 1, you get 2 back. So you're technically only getting 1 because you're going to want to continue to plant that barley in order to continue to grow it. So you're going to have to put 1 of those back in the ground. It takes 10 barley flour to make bread, or to make 1 bread, which is just terribly inefficient. I mean, all the time that it takes for you to go through and plant them, make sure they're far enough apart, all of that stuff, and you're not planting them too close together. Then you go through and you harvest them. You only get to keep 1 from each, so you're going to have to harvest 10 to get 1 bread, and then you're gonna have to replant those 10 in order to continue the loop. Honestly, it gives great stats, but I feel like it's one of those ones that's like used once in a while when you're going out to do something dangerous. It's not like an everyday eater because of the fact that it's just so terribly inefficient time-wise. The other downside to bread is that you need the artisan table and a windmill in order to process the barley flour. To get to the artisan table, you have to defeat 𝐷𝐿, so the dragon boss. So you're not getting a hold of this anytime fast. You can actually rush the turnips relatively early game. You can head over there in the swamp. I advise having at least a good chunk of troll hide, and then just don't stop moving when you're over there in the swamp. Just keep moving and stay out of the water as much as possible. You should be able to do a quick run through the swamp and find turnips. I've done it before, so I know it's possible. I only died once, which is not the worst, especially if it's early game. Get a hold of those turnips right after you hit the Bronze Age and you get the cultivator, and you're looking pretty good. This, on the other hand, you have to defeat the dragon boss before you can make bread. So you need the dragon tears in order to make the table. And then if we grab the barley here and we bring it over here, you put it in the back of this thing and you just load it up. Also, you can't hold it down like you can the other stuff. So like the furnace and stuff, you can hold down, or the smelter, you can hold down and just keep loading it. This, you gotta tap it. You gotta tap the E to add all of them. And then you just patiently wait and it will eventually spit it out the front. It's a 1-for-1. So I've loaded 24 in here. Let's skip some time. All right, we've skipped some time. It's popped out and you can see we only got 24. So it's a 1-for-1 on the barley. Yeah, bread, not a bad item, just terribly inefficient. So let's talk about how we can make turnip soup and getting a hold of raw meat a little more efficient. So you have two options for harvesting meat. You have boars and you have the wolves. Boars are really easy to get, and you can take one of those turnips and feed it to a boar and then make another baby and then get 2 meat from it if you are using at least a 1-star boar. I do not recommend farming any boars unless they are at least 1-star or above. The level 1 boars or the no-star boars are just terrible to farm. They don't always give resources, they don't always give meat, and they're just terrible. If we farm up some of these 1-star boars, so we just got 2 in a row right there, and we harvest them up, you can see we got 4 meat and 4 leather scraps. Now, they will pretty much always give 2 meat. On occasion, they give less or more leather scraps, but I've always gotten 2 meat from each of these that I farm. So we're gonna continue to harvest here. So they seem to be on a roll for 2 and 2 today, but I have gotten 3 leather scraps from these guys before, so it must be a bit of a random chance. But you can see they're super efficient. So if you just get 2 meat per, it ends up being a situation where you only need to farm turnips because they will eat and breed off of turnips. So if you only have 2 pigs, you farm 2 turnips, you drop the 2 turnips in here, that's going to get you 4 meat, and that turns around to be 4 stews. So you essentially turn 2 turnips into 4 meat. Not a bad trade-off, but it's even better if you have 2-star boars. These guys will always give you 4 meat. Every time you kill one, you will get 4 meat from a 2-star boar. They are an absolute fantastic thing to get a hold of because of how efficient they are. So you turn 1 turnip into 4 meat. That is a very, very, very good trade-off. Now, another really good option is the wolves, and the wolves are a good option because you don't have to turn any of your produce into meat. You can turn meat back into meat. So you can turn all of those turnips that you're farming into turnip stew instead of feeding them to your boars. The downside to wolves is it's going to be a little bit later in the game before you're able to get a hold of them. And also, as you're about to see, you're best off getting a hold of 2 stars because the 1 stars do not always give you meat. So here we go. We're going to just knock down a few of them here. And you can see that this one here did not produce any meat. However, this one produced 2. So the 1 stars have a random chance to drop meat, so you're not super efficient there. They are farmable. It is a thing you can do because we can get 1 meat, we can turn that around, throw 1 of those on the ground and use that to make another baby wolf, and then we have 1 that we can use for ourselves to eat. However, if you can get a hold of 2-star wolves, from what I can tell, they're probably your most time efficient option. They are going to be the hardest thing to get a hold of though. So if we knock this guy down here and we harvest him up, you can see 4 meat. If we take this one down and we harvest him up, 4 meat. Every time you take down one of these or farm one of these 2-star wolves, you are going to get 4 meat. That is 2 for yourself and 2 for 2 more wolves. You don't have to use any of your produce. You can use all of your produce for making the soup, and then you can use the wolves to duplicate the wolves. So you have a few different configurations for options here. Obviously, late game option for if you want to go fully renewable, farmable food source, and that's the only thing you want to live off of because you don't want to forage for whatever reason. Your best option is bread, turnip stew, in 1 meat. And let's take a look at what the stats look like for that. So here you go. You can see I have 155 health and I have an absolutely massive stamina bar. So not a bad option there. Once again, you're not going to be able to achieve this until after you beat the dragon boss. If you want to go fully farmable and you only want to eat renewable food, this is what that's going to look like for you. Now, you do have another option relatively early game, and we're going to take a look at that now. So your early game option would be a cooked meat, a honey, and 1 turnip stew. And let's take a look at the stats on that. So you can see with just that setup there, we end up with 135. Well, it just ticked down. It was 135. 135 health, and then our stamina bar. It's an okay stamina bar. I prefer more stamina, but we're gonna cover how to max out your stamina in a different food video. Once again, that's not what this food video is about. So yeah, it's not your best option, but early game, it should serve you well. You do have a nice chunky HP bar there, so you should be able to take a couple of hits, and it's not bad for 100% renewable resources that you don't have to go out and forage for. Now, one thing I do want to mention here is that super early game, you're not really going to be able to start off with this, because the first boars that are going to show up are going to be level 1 boars, and they're going to be trash to farm. Don't even bother with them, honestly. But once you are to the point where you're safe enough to go over and explore the swamp, you should start seeing at least 1-star boars. I'm not 100% sure on the mechanics on what causes those to show up, so I'm not going to talk in detail about it. I'm also not going to talk in detail about breeding them or the difference between stars and all that other stuff. I have videos covering all of that stuff, so if you're interested in that and you want to know about breeding them and how breeding them works and getting, you know, more 2 stars or 1 stars or whatever, check out my Valheim playlist. I cover all of that. But once you are at the point where you can somewhat safely run through the swamp and hunt for turnips, you should already start seeing at least 1-star boars, and those are a good one to start with until you get to the point to move into 2-star boars. So about that point in the game, you can become completely self-reliant on food and not have to do any foraging if you don't want to. And last but not least, just so that I am super thorough, for those of you who want to know what your least favorable combo, I guess we're going to call it, looks like, which would be the meat, carrot, and honey combo. That's super easily obtainable as soon as you hit the Bronze Age and you get the cultivator. You can easily do this combo here. Let's take a look at what that looks like health-wise and stamina-wise. So you can see that puts you at 100 health, and there's your stamina bar. So yeah, I guess that early on in the game, that's not a bad setup, but you can do way better. Okay, so this time, I think this video was worthy of you all. I think I covered everything, and yeah, hopefully you found it informational. Hopefully, if you watched the other one, you continued to watch this one, and you picked up on all of the things that I left out in the first video, and it was a little bit more informational to you. I apologize for that first video. That should have never happened. If you did find this informational and helpful, and you have not yet hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, please do. It's going to ensure that you get notified when I upload other Valheim content, and I don't just cover Valheim, I cover all kinds of different games, so you never know when I'm going to be making guides for a game that you may be playing. Alright, that is going to wrap it up for this episode. If you like what you saw, consider hitting that sub button. I want to give a big thank you to my patrons for making this episode possible. Y'all are absolutely amazing people. If you'd like to join my elite crew Patreon supporters, please check out the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're shy, you don't like to comment, just hit that thumbs up button and show your support. Until next time, thanks for watching.